An affidavit that we can. That's right.
Yeah.
We can do a stash that just in case we don't have anything.
I wish, right? We have like an on-call ones that we can.
Yeah,
do.
right.
That would be nice.
Call us before we get up.
Yeah. I like that.
Is that asking too much?
No, not at all.
Oh, now.
I guess we have to wait our 15 minutes and then,
That's the only one.
yeah, an agent that had two. No, there's more on 3 o'clock, yeah. He's just the only one that had affidavit. There's a 4 total.
Takes me 7
I'll be back in 15 minutes.
All right.
Yeah, we gotta wait, and see if he decides to show up or call. You wanna start on letters?
Sure.
Okay.
Well,
That's not, I mean, assuming it's this guy, you gotta be moving all these people. Like making money to represent the life.
no.
You know what? I don't know what to do. but this has happened before.
Wow.
They may do some research.
You want to pay attention to all this?
Yes.
I suppose this is. Well,
You never
how many
know.
of them are there? 10 people, something like that?
Yeah, about 10.
If you're one of those people.
Especially if you
Right.
might hire somebody.
Probably right. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The one.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Was informed this morning that the doors are coming in, and they're coming in from Oregon. So there'll be a few, so it won't be this week, and then they'll probably starting next week, so. I don't know what we're gonna do with doors. Good.
We on?
I should,
Scott,
audio wise, are we on?
Yeah, we're on.
Okay, it is Tuesday, May 31st at 8:32. Convening a session of the Aransas County Appraisal Review Board. You have a quorum?
Yes, we used to.
Okay. That's okay. All right, so we're gonna open second day by reviewing letters.
You ready?
Sure.
Okay, the first one is received May 26th. I'm sorry, it's written May 26th and received stamped on 26th.
Michelle,
Anyway,
please.
dear Arthur's Review Board.
You know what the case number is?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Here it is. Here it is. 20064, 2065, and 2066. You read that there? It looks like it's, there's an image. Oh, 26.
Yeah, it looks like it's 28.
Oh. My wife and I are requesting consideration for extending the final date of the property tax protest process. My mother-in-law is still with health on disease in San Antonio, and my wife and I are preparing for her. This is primarily caregivers. We were under the impression that the protest deadline was May 16, which I passed. However, now that we have access to our own child manual, the official notification indicated May 25th. As true deadlines, so once again, I understood. Due to our situation. Now that I'm back in my. This is the usual situation now. Basically, there was supposed to be press, sincerely, Mike and Gina, lawyers.
Oh, that would be.
Fertilizer Drive.
The more I think.
And then the last one you can see, it's clearly May 26th.
Oh,
Yes.
On the last thing, on the envelope,
oh, I didn't.
Thank you so much.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we should do this.
What kind of wood? Because 40 gallons is about 3 50. And 40 gallons is about 7.
When did the notices go out?
for this particular one, I can look in the account.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Did they actually file the protest or just the letter?
That's all we have is the letter.
Yeah, no longer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
What's that?
that's all we have.
You know, apparently there's great property, she doesn't do anything bad.
Give me one of the account numbers, please.
2006.
Boyer is the last name.
Yeah.
Oh, one. He doesn't say anything. It's hard to say.
Yeah, the deadline for,
Somebody wrote.
the deadline was May 25th. They were mailed on April 25th of 2022.
Yeah, that's why when the girl, whenever you turned it in, it was just a walk-in. It wasn't mail, it looked like it was just a walk-in, it's probably one of the girls at the time.
Oh, I see, yeah, sure. So he brought it in probably.
The day
Yeah,
after.
somebody else brought it in.
But April 25th is when it was mailed out.
Yeah, so I mean, basically,
It wasn't, you can tell it wasn't mailed because there's no postmark.
yeah.
And then furthermore, we wrote the word late on it. We're really particular this time of year from the standpoint, if we receive something in an envelope and there's a postmark, we go by the postmark. And even if, like we're looking at that date, even if it's received after, like we received stuff after the deadline date, but it would have been postmarked. There might have been situations where it would have been postmarked, right, on or before the deadline,
Yeah.
which it's valid.
Yeah. Sometimes, mail's late, getting, so yeah. This was walked in.
But he didn't get his protest or didn't get his whatever he needed. Well, I was just saying. Now we're back. Yeah. Question is this like reason good enough?
I was just looking to see whether the guy thinks she
The ARB can grant, late hearing for good cause,
Yes.
Yeah.
and so it should fall.
That's what I'm saying. It's good.
This is good call.
Yeah,
I think so.
it probably is. I'm sure it's not lying. So it's fine with me.
Yes.
All right, we'll make a motion regarding accounts, 2064, 2065, 2066. And we favorably move forward, grant Mr. Boyer's request. What they do.
So, all in favor? Any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, so we have one opposed and 4 in favor.
Who's opposed?
I was.
I'll also just add a little aside, not that it makes a big difference, but the attorney has stated to me several times that she's more inclined to grant hearings in cases like this than not.
It happens.
But that's just so you know, the attorney.
Okay, this next one was received.
The count.
Number two, account 64526. 55486. And I assume something came up to swap, because you know, I'm on it, and it's stamped to see that they want to swap. Please grant me an audience with which review with me on the two property tax assessments. Could not meet the deadlines, it's out of state from non doctors and issues for second opinion surgeries. Sincerely, Kathy Ricketts. RITKES. Same situation, so.
Yep. We'll just do the 27th.
So, what do we want to grant?
I would vote for green. I would.
Make a motion regarding accounts 64536, 55486. Belong to Kathy Ricketts, SCAS. The grant for a late hearing in these two properties.
I'll say. All in favor? Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. So let me ask you another question, Mike, or yeah. But both of these are just letters, right? We didn't receive any, they didn't actually follow protests.
I believe it would be with it if they did.
Just a letter, no.
Okay.
Which leads to a really good point in your response letter. You need to make that really clear that the district is yet to receive any protest. And you might talk to your attorney about what that looks like. Like either the language or the timeline. There's two situations that are possible. You grant the late hearing and you never receive protest, and what does that look like? Or you send a letter and say, hey, we're granting your late hearing, but district has yet to receive the protest, and they hand it in the next day, like they're really Johnny on the spot. You should get some counsel with them.
I would think you need to give them a date. You might see that.
We did.
Oh, you do?
We did May 25th. They're late.
No.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's telling you.
The point is, no, the point is that we already gave them a deadline of May 25th. We have yet to receive a protest on file. This board
Yes.
had the duty to rule on the items that are protested, and you don't have that information. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand that. I think the question is, should we put any set any expectation on when they need to have their protest paperwork filed, protest filed?
That's what I just said, Mike.
Yeah.
Very dated.
Well, but
I
that's.
hear what you're saying. Same thing.
Yeah, well, I understand. We did get, there was a date, right? The date published was, and they missed it. And they've explained, tried to explain why they missed it. That still doesn't get around the fact that they need to submit the protest at some point. And what I thought you were getting at, and I kind of agree with, is that we need to set an expectation of when they need to get the protest submitted. I would, let's give them 2 weeks. And we'll put that as part of the explanation, if you can craft that in the letter.
Since you're also going to talk to the attorney.
Yeah.
See, that's what I just need your voice. I'm conflicted with that because they were given enough time. They did send a letter. I would have expected with the letter of protest. I mean, I missed it. If it is, right now it's just a letter. It's given, extended time. And those who did submit everything on time, I'm conflicted with that. So that's just my opinion. And, you might want to talk to the attorney, even though she says, you grant those why would she have said that? You know, maybe she could elaborate if they had all that information in, if it was just a letter. I'd like some clarification. on that.
Yeah, I'll read that through,
It doesn't say anything in there beyond
why they were late.
why they were late. This one did. I
Both
know,
of
I mean,
them.
in our, on the rules from the state.
No, and
It just says for good cause.
Yeah, it says for good cause.
yeah,
And
So
so
what do you consider?
you have,
Well, yeah,
you know, for good cause, I'll say for the record that the two aforementioned ones appear to be good cause to me. But you should get some clarification on, you should just lay the facts out that we read letters for which there was good cause, but there was not a protest submitted with the, you know,
letter.
late letter.
right.
Please advise on that, you know, like when, you know, can we impose a deadline? You know, should it already be in the district's possession? You know, please advise.
Yeah.
Just get the advice and just move forward with it.
Yeah,
Should I pay a double check and make sure there's not a purchase somewhere?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't need to do it this minute, but
Okay.
at some point, that would be helpful. Might be-
I hadn't thought about that yet.
And just to review while this isn't verbatim from the tax code, it says good cause for filing late protest is not defined in the tax code. Section 41.44B. Claims for good cause for late filed protests should be carefully considered, and standards in making determination of good cause under tax code 41.44B should be uniformly applied. So,
Do we have a standard beyond what it says there?
well,
We're just almost making one.
I get that.
Yeah.
That's the thing we say in
We've
precedent.
done this before, it's really, they're not quite good.
Yeah.
Greatly illness and sickness and death.
I think so. I mean, yeah, the good cause has been, well, I mean, the good cause is like I said, it's not defined, but it has been determined by the previous boards. And they've just made decisions.
You know, somebody said, reading, I just got to the bottom of a stack of mail and I didn't get to it until today, well, they did the story. To me, I'm like, I'm posting some kind of story,
right.
whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's just the clarification on the timing with the report. Yeah.
Okay, the next letter is property ID 25955. I was brought in, but it was not mailed, it was received May 27. It was written May 27th and received May 27th. It's on the letterhead from James L. Anderson Jr., attorney at law. And the address is Rockford on Market Street. It's addressed to Aransas County Appraisal Review Board, address, attention, Mr. Scott Waggart. This is regarding James L. Anderson Jr., property ID number 25955. Dear Mr. Waggart, I am writing to ask for an extension to protest the appraisal of the above referenced property. My husband, James L. Anderson Jr., is suffering from dementia and has been off for a nursing home for 15 summer. I've been handling all of our affairs due to this and have been working with our title company, cleaning out the office all this spring. This is why I missed the deadline. It's the sale of the company and cleaning out of the office was no large. The property is in his name only. He used his letterhead, only let me identify myself in the records. I do have his power of attorney, and it's also recorded in the real property records at the courthouse. If you will need a copy, I can find that to you. Thank you for your consideration, the extension of my protest. Very truly yours. You can see it. Oh,
In this one, I would be inclined not to grant the protest.
I don't know. I go either way. I think probably I would be in favor of granting it. It seems like a really good reason. Another, he's not sick, but the husband is. So his name is one of his property, so she could understand. So I'd probably be okay with it. But everybody else will do.
Yeah, if you make a motion, you vote on. I'm
She's been handling it and she missed it.
not in favor.
See what?
She's been handling it and she missed it.
Yeah. In about a month.
So it seems like we don't want to approve this one.
That would be my. Comments.
And then I would count number 25955, property going to change all Anderson. Friendly new board, after reviewing the letter from Vicky Anderson, was decided to decline their consideration for a late protest hearing.
So we are voting to decline this, is that what the motion is? Okay.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, the motion carries.
All right, the next one. I have one more, yes. We've already responded to this once. So back to the beginning. This is regarding property ID 18623.
So this was a letter that we.
155.
Previous.
It's just one property, 18623. Let's see where we start with this. We wrote them a letter, Scott, you did, 5.7. This is back from the protester on May 27 also, so it was brought into the office for that particular letter. We're going to read that one first.
This is just a copy of the letter. This letter that's actually sent out by Scott.
Right.
Is a letter that the district sends out whenever we receive a late notice that your protest was received. So in this case, in the previous cases, like the other three letters, they sent a letter with no protest. In this case, they sent a protest. So we sent a letter back to tell them to write the letter. So they did it actually in the right order. Yeah. And so that's the reason you see the letter. So there was no previous decision that I can,
It says that trailer review board will review it, that's what we're doing. right now.
that's exactly right. I just wanted to clarify.
So they said this was, I don't know when this was dated actually. It's dated on his writing date 27. And let's see, what's this? But it's on the notice that we sent to them. And they just made a copy of it and wrote on it. These all this property description and all that. To put it on our letterhead. So we create a district's letterhead. It's to attention ARB, Aransas County. Please consider our request for protest, where it just says for protest, due to the notice being mailed to our old address, not being forwarded. And this is from, I can't read his name, but it's John.
Man, it's difficult.
Looks like, we can look it up, it looks like
Signed by the owner.
it's not
They-
signed by the owner, I can't read it. I recall from years past, those that were not forwarded was not our problem, they did not give us their forwarding address. It was not our job to try and prove it.
Right, and just as a point of interest, can we check what the current address you have on this account? Did they
Sure.
change it?
I don't know, but I can look.
You want a property ID?
I do.
18623.
The mailing that I have on file right now is 1315 South Church Street. That
That's the right address, because they crossed off the 14493 South Puppet Mountain Boulevard,
And they put church,
and they
yeah,
put Church Street, so again, you have the correct address now, I believe.
we do now.
yeah.
Yeah, so in the past, I recall, we have denied these protests for mismailing or wrong addresses, because it really is the responsibility of the property owner to maintain a correct and valid address for their property.
We make a motion on property ID 18623. Plan review board and review the request for the hearing. Due to the circumstances, they do not meet our criteria for granting one. Find the request.
All in favor? Anybody opposed? And the motion carries.
I'll see.
And aside from that last one, if you get a chance sometime today to check and see, well, before the letters go out, I just would be interested to know whether there are any protests have been. I suspect not. And I will contact the attorney and just get a sense from her on these late protests, handling these late protests, where in particular where the protest paperwork has not been submitted, and whether we can put a timeline in place, a reasonable timeline for when they need to get that submitted. So it just
Something like Peggy says, you said she was generally in favor of granting like protests. I would like to, what Peggy suggested is, what does she consider appropriate for like, if it's just seeking self-death, side town, wrong address, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, what are criteria for a good cause?
Exactly.
I know this came up in our discussion when we were dealing with that lengthy chain of letters from the Delmore a long time ago, it seems like a long time, but that's how,
Last year.
it seems like.
All right, so.
Okay.
And what, I think one of the things too that might be helpful, I'll try and put together some things that document good cause. Okay?
Right.
Because I think one of the challenges we have is consistency. We just need to be consistent in terms of how we try and do it. We aren't going to catch them all, but at the same time.
Under the word result.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any? We don't have anything at 8:30.
We had one guy. There was an affidavit for 3:30 that we were going to go ahead and handle now, knowing that if that person does call in at 3:30, we'll need to deal with it again at 3:30. But we thought we'd just knock it out now.
Affidavit only.
And a.
Oh, submitted
Yeah.
affidavit
they
only.
didn't have to, no.
Yeah, but they check the box. I do not intend to appear.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
gonna double
you
check
can-
for you.
Yeah, so
Okay. Raise hand.
Yeah. Thank you.
The only one we have.
Do you wanna go ahead and do this?
yeah, I'd like to, and if we can get somebody from the district.
Yeah.
Read it. Excellent.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say for the day, but no.
No, no.
I was wrong.
That's just,
Well, they can knock off two of the ones that block this way.
yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
Eight, they're fine.
Right. So you would, oh, you're going to spend with them in time.
At 3 minutes.
If they show.
And this person owns these lots. Okay, 30. I just went to the presentation. He owns these lots.
He does. Very good.
Oh, yeah, well,
Okay.
Yeah.
well,
He won't, that's.
he just decided, so.
I checked them out. He owns.
They're all different attitudes.
Right.
Seemed like he was an agent.
Yeah, but he shows us the owner.
I would call.
Borrow your fly shooter. I've had him for 2 weeks.
The other thing is interesting, I don't know if the mosquitoes, affect them because the mosquitoes have really gotten bad over there. And my fly population has gone down, so.
Maybe
Well,
the,
here's the question, was this thing stealing
Yeah.
as well?
If it will, it does.
that's why you're real good at it.
It's kind of cool because you can, as part of getting the laser thing on, they recommended, and I did, you take a piece of aluminum foil and put some X's, which are, simulated flies. But you shoot at the aluminum foil, they say that, like, good distance is 27 inches. And it's amazing how the aluminum foil, scattergun, that kind of thing. This is all, and it's small, real small.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, all the contents.
Oh, no, it's about that big around. Yeah, it's little bits, yeah.
I hate you because we're doing
It's gonna be.
No.
Accidentally, right?
it. No, probably just people.
No, 3. VR lessons. All right, we have 2 accounts, 601 and 602. We'll start with 601.
Sure.
This is the
Affidavit.
3 o'clock.
I was trying to help you out.
I never thought this was meant to be.
Yeah. It's, the case number 2022-601. Oh, the property ID is 25149. 149. Okay, we're commencing a hearing on case ID 2022-601. Property ID 25149. 18 Curlew lot courts. This hearing is being recorded. There are files under protest. Yeah, I gotta find it.
Where are you?
So it'll be on page 8. Mark.
Yes.
Yeah, then.
Okay, we are the appraisal review board that will be hearing the protest today. We do not work for the appraisal district. We are appointed to perform an independent review of the protest. Protester has a right to appeal our decision, and appeal information will be provided to the protester with our determination. In accordance with tax code section 41.45H, all written material is assumed to have been provided with this affidavit. And there is some evidence. The ARB members who are considering the protest have not communicated with anybody about the protest and are signing affidavits to that effect. I, Scott Wagner, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code section 41.66.
I, Kathy Hopkins, solemnly swear that I have not communicated with a person in violation of tax code 41.66.
I, Joanne Ferguson, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code 41.66F.
I, Ronald McCann, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code 41.66F.
I, Peyton Berg, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code 41.66F.
All testimony from all witnesses must be given under oath.
I recognize you solemnly swear from the defense commission representative place will be for the next.
Okay, the district representative will now read the affidavit into the record.
All right, section 1 of the affidavit is the owner and lease. No, I'm turning, my ringer's always off. It's okay.
In my ring.
Section 1 is the owner and the owner's address. It has his phone number and his email address. Section 2 is the property description, and that's the property description that's under protest. So that's 18 Curlew Drive, Rockport, Texas, Keeler Road, Unit 4, Block 16, Lot 50. Section 3, reason for protest. The box checked is incorrect appraised. Market value and or value is unequal compared with other properties. Section 4 is evidence, and it says that there's 4 pages of evidence. Section 5 is statement of facts or arguments. Based on the sales, nothing is selling for over $1 million, regardless of ages, size, class, etc. Based on the comps, all selling form probably it's supposed to be from 860 to 994, and one on the same street selling for 945. Slightly smaller, we feel the value should be around 950. So section 6. This is the hearing type. I do not intend to appear at the hearing in person by telephone conference call or by video conference. This affidavit and the evidence or argument submitted with it may be used at the hearing. If I do not appear in person at the hearing. So then we come down. It's signed by Michael Howard with the notary Sarah Lankus, and it's in the county of Aransas. Next thing down is the property card. This is property card for the year 2022. It's a current card. Next thing down is a picture from our evidence of the pictometry. So that's the aerial image of the house. And then the sales grid. In the sales grid, it's our sales grid from the evidence we sent. And it has blue highlighting over the sale prices. So the sale price of $945 and change, and then a sale price of $860, and then the sale price of $992, and then sale price of $973. All of those highlighted. And that's the end of the property owner's evidence. We'll go into the district's evidence here. See some of the same stuff. So it's the same property card, same aerial photography, just from a different direction, just sorted different. And these are gonna be the same comps that you just saw. So comp number one is on Curlew. It's a little bit smaller and older. So when that comp adjusts out, it adjusts out to $1,037,000. Next comp is on Pelican, and it is about the same size and just slightly older. From an effective data standpoint. Comps 3 and 4 are both on Vimeo. These houses are one's bigger, one's smaller. The adjustments are made to compare it to the subject. The median indicated value is $1,074,000. We have the subject at $1,361,000. 2,680. So we support our value there. And then when we do some equity looks, we have a class 6 home, we compare it to a class 6 home. Comp number one is a little bit smaller. So there's going to be a square footage adjustment. But it is on the same street, so that's nice. Comp number 2 is on Edgewater. Same class, almost the same size, just a little bit older. And comp numbers 3 and 4, one's on Bahama, one's on Hooping Crane, all class 6 homes, all over 3,000 square feet. Both of the comps are older. That's because the subject is a newer house, so almost everything's gonna be older. But it all comes out at $1,008,770. And just for the heck of it, I'm gonna scroll through this sales ratio report and look at some numbers, and I'll spit them out about $1 million sales. So Blue Heron, 22 Blue Heron sold for 1.5. 1901 Bayshore sold for 1.4. So 21 Blue Heron sold for 1.5. Bayshore, 1900 Bayshore, 1.3. 30 Mazatlan, 1.1. 18 Blue Heron, 1.6. 19 Bahama, 1.3. Another 64 Blue Heron, 1.7. So there's more. I don't have. There's another one on Blue Heron. There's anyways, another one on Bahama. The point is that there's $1 million sales all over KLA. They're just everywhere. Yeah, there's
Way
more.
over, way over.
Yeah,
Some cases.
there's more than there's ever been. They weren't comped to the subject because we tried to make comps that were similar. And so we feel more comfortable comping a $945,000 sale to the $1 million market value than we do a $1.7 million sale and having to adjust for all that value. So we could have used different comps. It just would have been different.
Just as a point, no, just as a point of interest. Well, it's okay if I ask.
Yeah.
Okay. When you're developing your sales grid comps, do you focus mainly on price, or do you focus on style and size of the property and stuff like that, or is it a combination?
It's everybody kind of does it different, there's an opinion with that. Personally, I look at square footage. That's kind of one of the first things I do, is try to look at square footage to make sure that I'm not about to have a drastic difference, because sometimes it can be pretty significant, where it's 1,000 square feet or even more. And I try to kick those out right away. And then my next thing for me personally would be location. It's already going to be within the subdivision or neighborhood, but then I'm going to say, okay, whereabouts is this? It's a country club maybe, but is it reasonable? And then the next thing would probably be sale price. Am I comping something because sale price and class are usually related to each other. So those are sort of looked at the same time. But it is important, if you can, to not have a huge delta between market value and sell price unless there's a reason, a really good, like, I put this in here because it's the same house. That's a good reason. But just because something's sold in the same neighborhood, you don't have to go find the, you guys would catch on pretty quick if we went and found the top 5 highest sales in Keola
Yeah.
and put them in every grid. You know what I mean? That would be silly. It would be silly to do that. Because there's other things that are more important. And most of the time, I think, for most people, because of the way we think about real estate, square footage is just about the most. All of us think in square footage. We're all trained to do that. You look for a house in Portland because you want to buy it. You're just going to figure out how much they're selling it for per square foot. That's what your head's going to do. Everybody does that. That's what I would do.
I think it was, we talk.
Yeah. We're done. Me and-
I think I'm familiar with this house aside from that. I would say that probably one of the things that might have caused the protest is not understanding the comps, because all of the comps were valued under. And so he's looking at his overlay and all the other comps were under him. No, he wasn't looking at the adjusted.
Yeah, that's the
As a
big point.
adjusted out. Sure. I
He
think
looked
that's
just at the sale price.
exactly, or the listing price.
Listing price,
Hey,
yeah.
so I mean, assessed value, so.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think, I think in that respect, you might have looked at them and said, wait a minute, no, I'm not looked at all the comps.
Yeah, that's a good point, especially when you look at it from the sell prices really comp number 1 and comp number 3 and 4. There is very little difference between 1,002,000 and 992,000, 973,000. But in the market value, there is a difference. So that could be one of the things that's irritating. I see that. I would agree.
I think that house is probably what they do. What it was, 1,200,000.
Yeah, but
If you put it on the market today, it would be more than my estimation.
Agree. And that's one of the disadvantages of affidavit only. Yeah. Well, it's not even rebuttal, it's just understanding. My perception, my view is just that it just looked at the price and didn't look at any of the adjustments that needed to be made.
Or understand.
Yeah, or understand. I don't see any reason to change it. Anybody else?
Okay. Motion then on page ID 2022-601, property ID 509. Addressing incorrect appraised market value and appraisal ratio exceeding the normal appraisal. The ARB finds that the assessed for noted price of 1,2,680,000 should stand.
Second. Pick one of us.
That was Peggy that seconded Q1. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, so the motion carries. We have another one. Oh, where did that go?
I thought it was the same person, but it's not.
It may be.
I know it's-
It is.
It is.
Scott, do you know the,
It's the same person.
do you know the counter case?
Sure. It is 55360.
Yeah. It's on the next page,
Excuse me.
page 9 at the top.
Case number 601. I'm sorry, 602. 602, you just did 601.
55360, yeah,
602.
Same, different name.
right.
Same agent.
Yeah, same agent.
Okay. Okay, we are commencing a hearing on case number 2022-602. Count number 55360. 302 St. Andrews, apartment G202 in Rockport. This hearing is being recorded. Verify what's under protest.
I don't know if you know information, but even.
Yes.
I can go back out, come back in.
Okay.
5536.
Zero. Okay, good. Oh, I got it. Our protest is, 200.
Okay, we are the appraisal review board that will be hearing the protest today. We do not work for the appraisal district. We are appointed to perform an independent review of the protest. Protester has the right to appeal our decision. Appeal information will be provided to the protester with our determination. Accordance with tax code section 41.45H, all written material is assumed to have been provided with the affidavit. And similar to the last case, there is some evidence provided. The ARB members who are considering the protest have not communicated with anyone about the protest and are signing affidavits to that effect. I, Scott Wagner, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code section 41.66H. I'm sorry, in violation of tax code 41.66F.
I got a copy of the solemn swear that I have not communicated with a person in violation of tax code 41.66.
I, Joanne Ferguson, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code 41.66F.
I, Ronald McCann, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code 41.66F.
I, Peggy Bird, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code 41.66F.
All testimony from all witnesses must be given under oath.
I read Presley, do solemnly swear from that the person I shall present to the appraisal review board for the Aransas County Appraisal District is correct.
Okay, the district representative will now read the affidavit into the record.
Property owner's affidavit of evidence. Section 1 is the owner name, has his phone number, and it has his mailing address and an email. And section 2 is the property description of the property under protest. 302 St. Andrews, apartment G-202, Rockport, Texas, 78382. Section 3, reasons for protest. Incorrect appraised market value and or value is unequal compared with other properties. Section 4 states that there's 4 pages of evidence. Section 5 is the statement of facts or arguments. When looking at the sale, the county looked to pull in the highest sales possible. Whereas I looked through the sale, found 4 sales of 1,080 square feet, which is larger than the subject's 1,029 square feet, selling at 135, 135, 150, and 140. Using those sales and the same adjustments the district made on the grid for the same size, we feel that the market value should be put at 135. Section 6. And this is the hearing type. I do not intend to appear at the hearing in person by telephone conference call or by video conference. This affidavit and the evidence and or arguments submitted with it may be used at the hearing if I do not appear in person at the hearing. And section 7, this is signed by Michael Howard, by Sarah Linkless in Aransas County. And the next thing we have is property card. 2022, there's a value of 147,610. And then there's a sales ratio report. And subject property is, I think he said 1,029 square feet. And got some highlighted stuff here. We'll look at it. One of the sales he's talking about is in January of 2021 for 1,080. Sold for 135,000. And then there is a sale in April of 2021 for 1,080. Sells for 135,000. And a sale in July 2021 for 150,000. And then there's gonna be let me see that square footage. I didn't say that, did I? The square footage on 150,000. Lost it. Oh, they're Jane.
Yeah, they're all
Okay, they're all Jane. Okay. And then the next one is a sale in January for 140,000 for the 10. Let's take a look. That's the end of the property owner's agent's evidence. So we'll look at the district stuff here. And again, this is a condo in a country club located off of St. Andrews. Comp number one in the district evidence is a sale in July of 2021 for a 1080 condo for 150,000. Comp number two is possibly the one he brought up, the $140,000 one, sold in January of 2021.
Okay.
Comp number three is the same size. It's one of these 1,029 condos. Sold for 180,000 in March of 2022. So we end up with a value closer to 150 by using those three cells. The equity grid is going to be hopefully some 1,029. Yep. Square foot condos, very little adjustments, no adjustments. That's because they're just all on the same calculation, same. Everything's the same. So do I have a big rebuttal to his decision to say that that's a problem? I don't know. I mean, he said, that we didn't throw in the $235,000 sales. My argument would say he didn't throw in the $180,000 sale. I mean, I don't know what to say about that.
We don't have any way of knowing whether these are on
The location, I don't see it. All I can say is that
If they're on the fairways, it was more important.
sure. The very odd thing about this is the one that sold for the most is the one that's off fairway.
Where is it saying that?
It's in the neighborhood where it says S7. It's the third thing down in the neighborhood. It says S7252 off. So it is not a fairway view that's sold for a lot.
The other ones were on it.
The other ones are at least in the same grouping. I'll be careful to say they're grouped the same, but it doesn't have the word S252 on. So I just want to be a little careful to say, I don't know for sure, absolutely for sure, that they have the views that are opposite of off. But I know that the one that says off was off, and it just happened to be the highest sell.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's also smaller. So it's smaller, off fairway, and it's over 180.
Was it more?
But that was the one that we this year, right?
Yes, ma'am. It could have been. That's
That's why.
yeah.
Yeah, there are no condos for sale.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
That's why.
It's a supply and demand issue, for sure. I get it. Yeah. So, that's all I have.
I think we need to be where it is. Seems like examples that the protester gave. And Grace says even the higher one, balance it out to basically conversion. I think in today's 180 proves it really off fairway for more money right now. It's a lot more. Yeah. And his rebuttal was so for that is that. I would this my
Yeah, I'm just, scrolling through the small number of pages in the sales ratio.
yeah, that's, you know.
32 pages. And I've also, there's a couple that popped out at me in the same complex that are 150 or above. It would have been a little nice to have a few more sales comp at the same time. I don't think it's just what I'm looking at here. It's making a difference.
Okay. Yeah, motion on case ID 2022, the account 55360. In addressing incorrect appraised market value and appraisal function to appraisal. You board correctly noted at 147, 610.
Okay, go ahead, Ross.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so motion carries. Yeah, that's it for the moment. We need to stick around for the end of the meeting, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have one person.
Sorry?
It's just one person.
Yeah, and they hadn't shown up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be built.
Today, a lot. Today will be staying with the when you is that right? Yeah, so we get to put this.
You'll be here too.
Did Eamon mention anything about trying to get a KVM, keyboard video mouse switcher? I chatted with him about that. It would certainly help making switch to the ARB machine.
I got that. I guess I've got to make one thing. I got a card. You decided you were going to do them or not?
Not yet.
I told her that I had some. Two labs, and she told her, the first complex, I love labs.
Mhm. They're good dogs.
Yeah.
I've been trying to pick her up.
Oh, yeah.
Get her in the car, she's afraid of the car, because she can't take what she said, so you need to talk to her about the way she gets. I mean,
Can she speed outside when
she sits up the car and just. She has for a couple of times, but now, if I even open the door for the car, she's sitting there that donkey, and she like, so this. And I also think this bitch doesn't want to go in the car, because she doesn't feel very much in the car. Sure. You know, the thing for it. First I walk, and that's why I said I gotta pick her up.
the medication, it's not prescription, you get it on Amazon, I've got a bottle of,
Oh, what's it called?
I cannot remember, but it's a common tablet, chewable,
It's chewable.
chewable.
Once you're on Amazon. But I still want to call.
I got it,
I should think so. She
you did it, it's either Chewy or Amazon, I don't remember, I think it may be Chewy. That's $20.
Really,
67.
But it does tell you on their size, you know, I'm sure part of
It
it.
shows you how many tablets per day.
I assume you would do things like a certain time now, time ahead of time or something.
Yeah, ahead of time.
Trying to get her comfortable with all these, but if you have to jump in,
Right.
I can't. do it.
Even with treats.
So I tried trees, I tried sitting in there, you know, getting the other side, she's not going far. This is what it is.
Because she gets, yeah.
I'm gonna drive this continent.
Right.
I gotta get it comfortable.
You're driving always comes.
My family is up there,
You're driving.
yeah, but my niece is going down tomorrow. Oh, I'll have to wait, I'm gonna, I would drive slow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna double check with y'all that I heard right. I'm just going to check with the lawyer before I do the letters, correct? So we know.
Yes, and did you ever check to see if they had?
Yeah, whatever is submitted would be together. Yes. Uh-huh.
It's 465. Justin.
You take your phone.
It's on it now.
When she was younger and smaller, I used to drive around town, it's very easy, she jumped right in and had straps, as, you know, had her shirt up, now it's strapped in. All covered, so. Anyway. And I'm going to.
The first two trips, they were sick, but they were in my truck and it's so rough. But the wife put them in her car and they were fine. My son takes them for a ride every 3 or 4 days.
I don't know why they get sick. I mean,
It's not unusual.
It's new.
I know, but I
It's
mean,
new school.
she wasn't before and then she did. You see.
You know, Sean,
Scary.
okay, I just drive her away from, to the gas station, down here in the. She probably fine, but when I had to go some longer. That's when she.
Yeah.
So I figured out the car, I had to do this.
Yeah. Oh, they drew.
Then they can't get her out. Not because she wants to stay in there, she just doesn't want to be. Move. I had to literally get hold of the police, not collar and drag her out of the car. It's bothersome. I can get her front legs up and get her on the seat, and then I can go underneath it.
Yeah.
You know,
It's not like a little. Or something, you know?
I open the door and then I tap on the step, get on the step there and tap up a little higher and I'll help them up.
You help them up. Well, there's a little bit something.
They don't jump in. They just got to tap and they'll start crawling in and then I pick their hind end up. I'll put her on the seat.
She's big enough. That she can't jump on the seat.
Not the wax car, I mean, they jump right in there with the trucks. They're so tall.
Yeah. As soon as I find out what to do with this hill, I'm supposed to start driving down through these.
And the golf cart, I tap on the floor and they get in there and then I tap on the seat, they'll jump up. And one of them will jump up and go to the back seat.
Trainer. She was so good. On the store and shit.
All kinds of good smells in there.
She was good. She was really good.
There's good smells in there.
A lot of good smell. It was like 5 or 6 steps.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Oh, okay. I'm not hearing voices.
Those cats could say that's about it. Yeah.
No, but they're cats.
Yeah, they're cats, they're wonderful.
He just came in to make sure that she wasn't going to send those letters out. Until she talked to the lawyer.
Correct, yeah.
We told her, yeah.
And what I'll have her do probably is just send me the Word documents, so that way if I need to scratch any updates, I can do that. And send it back. So, we did more than 2.
Hmm?
We did more than
We
2.
did only, yeah, we did, only 2 of them, the ones that we were granting the protest to, those were the ones we had.
Okay, so
We
we
did
just,
two that we approved. We asked, we,
Right, and two we did.
did two we didn't, yeah.
Yeah. The two we approved, the question was how long if there's an extension time.
no, I'm talking about the hearings that we had. We did the two affidavits.
Yeah,
And that was it today. Okay.
and red letters.
And red
Yeah.
letter.
Red
Okay.
We only had one person at 10 o'clock.
I actually went to bed last night at a reasonable time, so I don't know why.
Out of the norm now.
It's a reasonable time.
What is?
What do you consider reasonable?
It's between 11 and 2.
Oh, Lord.
I go to bed at 8:30 tonight.
Oh, wow. Well, we went,
Usually 8:30 to 9.
oh, yeah. At 12 o'clock, I was.
What's your normal time?
No, about, that's,
That's your normal. Time.
yeah.
Oh, well, that's.
And the only time it really gets bonkers is when I'm doing a book like this and I'm getting to the end, right? You want to finish it up, you know, and it's like 1 o'clock.
We went to the movies yesterday, saw Top Gun.
Oh, did you?
Oh, man,
I've heard it's
it
absolutely
was great. It
Oh.
was exciting.
Getting good
He looks
reviews.
just like you did in Top Gun 1.
Well, he's older and, you know,
Wow.
yeah, but he is, and he's not one of my favorites, but he did an excellent job in there. And they had, Val Kilmer was in there.
Yeah.
How is it?
Yeah, you know, he has throat cancer,
Yeah.
so he doesn't talk. But he was typing to him, you know, sending him text messages and on the computer, but they did manage to get him to say some things, because some kind of technology.
They have a thing that you put in.
Yeah, and it sounded, but it was, I teared up when I saw him because, you know, I remember that movie so well, and they did have some flashbacks of Top Gun.
Not on the police officer.
No,
In the first one.
no,
On himself.
you're thinking of,
Officer and gentleman.
yeah,
Oh, I think that's absolutely right.
Yeah, Top
correct.
Gun is, yeah, that was the one with the fighter.
Right. So is the
It
not
is,
the graphics, what do you call it?
yeah,
Technology.
Yeah.
CGI.
it was excellent. It really was. I mean, you know, Tom sometimes falls asleep in the movies, you know, but this one, you know, you're awake the whole time. So
I bet it was really packed.
it really was.
Where'd you go? to
Aransas Pass.
see? Okay.
I haven't been to that place.
It's a nice
It's a
theater.
nice theater.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And it's the carpeting. It's very hollow sounding.
They don't have carpeting or, oh, really?
In the theater, of course, in the theater does this carpet on the walls. and stuff.
Yeah, but
So,
not-
you know, when you walk in, you mean?
Yeah.
It's all concrete. Yeah.
My niece with this, because they re-released it. Smoking the Bandit.
Oh.
Yeah, she thought it was great. They have all watching it. I mean, you all know what that is.
Yeah, right. Now, when you say it was,
No, it was the original movie.
Okay.
But she thought, my niece thought that perhaps they either added or edited out something, but she hadn't seen it for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She said it was, they really enjoyed it. Burt Reynolds is dead, isn't
Burt Reynolds is dead.
he? Yeah.
Well, and so when we got home, we were talking about it, and so we watched Top Gun, the original.
Oh, did you?
Yes, it's as exciting, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, on Amazon Prime, so that was fun.
Yeah, that was, so it's, did Tom Cruise look older in the,
He looks older. But he's, and you know, if you ever watch
his
his,
smile is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you watch his movies, he runs in every movie.
Yeah.
There's always a scene of him running, and I told that to Tom. I wonder if they're gonna show him running in this one. There he was running. you know?
I have to go back and look at that. I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
It's such a long-
yeah, they've been doing a lot of his Mission Impossible movies on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're on.
They're
on-
good too.
That's
Yeah.
success.
I don't know what it is. It's just, he's just not one of my favorite actors. I don't know. It's just my.
I think.
I mean, it's good.
Put on like it.
Yeah.
He just leaves and.
I think he's
Nicole
just-
Kidman and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
More arrogant than a lot of the,
That's maybe he's got me in, but still, the movie is great. And then what was nice at the very beginning is he came on and he talked about, you know, he hoped they did this movie for the fans and he hopes that they enjoyed it.
Oh, that's nice.
That's nice.
And then at the end, it had, in memory of Tony Scott. And so I was like, who's Tony Scott? But Tony Scott is the director of Top Gun, the first one, he's passed. It's passed on, so that's why they said that.
You know,
It's worth
that's
it.
the tricky part with movies is these people die and yet it's still there. I forget which ones are alive and which
Yeah.
ones are dead.
But you know, it's.
He's gotta be.
Oh,
Yeah.
How Cruz, but his smile is, but you know, he's had, from the first Top Gun to this one, I can tell he's had some dental work. You know, when he first came on the scene, he had like a cracked tooth. If you look at pictures of him when he first started out,
Really?
they did some work on his
Wow,
teeth.
that was-
Yeah, I mean, why not? Yeah. Teeth, Botox, or whatever. Make him over.
Yeah, it's hard to picture. 52 or in his 50s.
Really?
Playing.
He's in great
He
shape,
plays
too.
pilot.
Yes, yes. And what's nice is, he's been sent to San Diego to be the instructor at Top Gun.
Oh, I was just gonna ask that, whether he was,
He was
how did they
instructor,
put him through
and
training?
one of the candidates is Goose's son.
Oh, really?
It's the guy who died, you know, his partner. Yeah, it's his son, so that was kind of this intention there. And you find out later on why. But it's great. And there he was running. I love the way he runs.
I have to go back. And
Oh, yeah, but so,
Maybe the other night on Netflix and talk on this.
Yeah.
I have to go back and watch.
you ever see the berm? He runs in the berm. You
Yeah,
know?
he was really good.
Oh, yeah, I love that. John Grisham.
I know, I read all his books too.
Yeah.
And all the movies that they made from his books, I've seen. Although he got a lot out of whack for a while, started doing. A young lawyer, what his name was, because most of those are legal issues. which
Right,
I
right.
like, I like law, but.
Yeah.
He started writing a couple weird that weren't in character for the thing, which I
I
did
don't
not read.
remember, you know, I was
read.
looking up some of his books. I don't remember which one. I got the video, or the, not video, the audio, but I think I fall asleep. It puts me to sleep and I'm like, oh, just like when I watch a movie sometimes when I go to bed. And I wake up at the end like, oh, what happened? You gotta go back and watch it again, you know?
You know, this weekend, we had I don't get Yellowstone.
Oh, Bear Mountain.
Yeah, and this weekend was a Yellowstone marathon.
Yes.
You could watch it 24/7 and you really had to if you wanted to catch up with the whole thing.
Right.
I started watching it on Saturday. Now you want to see this, you don't want to start watching it now.
Right.
You know, you get it full. I'm going to go on to, episodes.
Yeah.
And then I think, well, you know, I'll be glued in my chair, you know, and then even that, I don't know. I'm gonna wait.
Well, I started while watching it, you know.
Need more?
Yeah,
You want a real cup?
that's just fine.
The new Dalton Abbey is good if you like that series.
Oh, I do. The movie,
The movie, yes.
You went to see it?
Yes,
I wanted to see that.
Dalton Abbey. Dalton Abbey.
Oh,
I've never watched any of those. unfortunately.
You get hooked and
Is
you
it?
do,
yeah. I spent 2 nights of just going.
You know, I just think one more. That's what I think. I just started to watch the whole thing.
They had.
It's 2 movies. Yeah, I didn't see the first movie.
Oh, it's the movie,
Yeah.
not the.
Yeah, the movie came out last week.
Oh.
See, I wanted to see that, but I knew Tom would not like that one, so I'm gonna go see that one
It was very well
by
done.
myself, yeah. Cause I know how it's been happening.
Sort of, but what they did was, can't think of her name.
Maggie Smith.
Yeah, Maggie Smith has inherited a villa in France from an old boyfriend.
She was wonderful in that series.
She is
She
delightful in
everything,
that you can tell she's much older.
Yeah.
She has really aged, but
She played the mother,
the dowager.
The dowager.
Yes,
yeah.
and she was, you know, because she did not let up. everything.
I love
with
her sarcasm.
Oh, and sarcasm, and she does it in this one. It's just, yes.
Oh, my God.
But, so a bunch of them go off to France, and then the others stay there at Dalton, and this movie studio offers them a huge amount of money to use the building, their home, as the backdrop for this movie. And it's a silent movie, and then it becomes a talkie, but it's just very interesting to see the difference, and it's a fun movie.
Probably right. I never go to the movies. I just wait till, could be a year from now. Yeah. This was more with Annie when we had a theater in Oxford.
Oh, God, I just said,
I do too, I really do.
That was so simple.
that's too much for me, and it's like, but I could have just walked over.
The guy that owned that, he built the one.
Right, yeah, he owns that one, and he owns a couple of others. He had problems with the people
Jeff Dinger.
here in Rockport that owned that building. They wouldn't- Yeah, they wouldn't repair the roof, they wouldn't do a lot of things. He wanted to storm. Yeah, and then after the storm, he said that.
And you probably didn't read around when they had the first theater. Was there,
Before they redid it.
what even had that, where the mail center is, that little care center?
Yeah.
Just to the right of that was
Oh,
a
really? That
theater.
was.
Yeah.
Mails? Oh, yeah, that was the.
No, that was.
Well, it was a building right next door to it, and they could only have maybe 2 students. But when we first started coming down, and then there was a, yeah, because it was, this is back in the mid to late 70s. And then my wife tells me about the drive-in.
Oh, it was.
There was a drive-in on what's Business 35 going to halfway between the Rainy Pass and Rockport. And she was,
I do too, I miss those, that was so much fun to sit here.
she grew up and she was able to get a driver's license when she was 14. So then they moved here and built a farm. I guess at the time, yeah. And so when she was in high school, she was one of the few kids that could drive. So she told me all the time they would, put 5 or 6 kids in the front. Go to drive.
We did that. We did, right, when we were growing up,
Oh, my goodness.
and then get out,
Yeah.
sometimes we get caught.
I don't remember if they.
We never got caught, but some people I
They
knew
didn't
got
have to go
caught.
back and get out.
Yeah, because they just wanted you out of there at the end. Yeah, they'll keep on going. The guy with his lights.
A couple of drivers in country places.
Yeah, they're far between.
Used to packing in their own weekends.
Yeah.
Kids. And
Yeah, because it was so much more fun and just, we went, my parents, even though it was well, movies, so we went a lot of driving. We lived in. And I was real little bit. And part of it was because it was so hot at night. And for most places, there wasn't any air conditioning. So they were there, the kids would go to sleep, you like them, and look at that.
well, if this guy doesn't show up by 10:15.
Yeah, I don't think, there's nothing on.
No, that's right, that's the only one.
At 1 o'clock, there's nothing.
No, one o'clock. I already have 2 and 3. We don't remember.
Oh.
It's 24 Redbird Trail.
Okay.
1:30, and then they come.
As well as a year ago. It was Mr. Sims that wanted the record and he sold us. At acre and created 24.
Yeah, there's a concern here about
So.
home sellers, markets are dropping prices.
It
Home sellers and hot markets are dropping the prices. Because the demand is tail off. Well, and evidently, I think inflation is starting to eat into a lot.
It's already started. Oh, because they can't afford homes.
Interest rates are good.
They're just not selling.
Yeah. They're not
People are-
selling.
Oh,
really.
because you slow down.
Oh,
yeah.
it's, uh,
Interest rates are going up.
Sorry?
Interest rates are going up, and I think it's getting harder to get loans too.
I can tell you that property on Cape is still going.
Holiday Beach is going crazy.
There's a house in our neighborhood, we put on the market in 7 days and have a contract, and it's $498,500.
Yeah, people are, it's just been all the houses.
It's crazy.
Even the builder, spec house.
Yep.
Yeah, they get multiple offers for asking for this or above.
Yeah, someone get in a bidding contest.
Hasn't displayed itself in the Auckland.
No, it is.
We're always behind.
No, yeah, I mean, we're still
Yes.
selling.
Now we should. That one. But now I see that.
Yeah, I'm interested to see some more details on Coconut Cove.
Thank you so
As
much.
you come down Aransas one road, that long stretch, you just remake that. Yeah, that whole area is, they're moving dirt. Somebody said something, we're gonna be half gated community for retirees over, you know. And then the other half is gonna be, lower income apartments.
What do they call it? You know, I'm just,
I don't know, and that may be a misnomer as well, because they just need apartments.
they do.
In general.
There's a couple in Rockport that they lower income, they got one down in the storm.
Yeah.
Yes, but no.
Apartments.
Yeah.
What about the ones that, when you go down Water Street and come around on that street,
Yeah.
Water Street?
Yeah.
Then you go all the way down and you make that curve, and they had a complex that.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah, that was section 8.
That was section
Yeah.
8 house. Is
That got-
back
I
section?
haven't been up there, I don't know.
Nice looking.
Yeah.
Just wondered if it was section.
It'd be brand new, it may not be section 8 anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
Damn, I mean,
That Pearl Point is just amazing over there. They dumped about, last time I went to that city council meeting. When they were giving an update, and they spent over $24 million.
When I get in the back. Oh,
mhm.
They can't, yeah.
Are they full?
oh, yeah.
The phase one, I
You know,
think it's full. Phase one is full, they're working on 2 right now.
Which is crazy.
There aren't any really, I mean, those are considered, I would. The nicest apartments.
But you know, your staff people aren't, sports people aren't, I mean, they're making minimum wage or less.
Yeah, but you're pulling people in from Sentinel, out of that steel plant,
I know
all the
that,
way down to Gregory.
but you're not helping the people who, your staff people, that's why they're all looking for workers.
Did we hear how many people they got?
I haven't heard, but it's gotta be a little.
I mean, I go by there all the time on my way to the fair.
Well.
Big,
It's
big place.
And there's nothing in Portland available, so they gotta venture out, you know.
Are you talking about the Exxon Mobil plant?
No, this is Steel Dynamics,
New dynamics and setting.
Simpson,
I haven't.
yeah, so on that bypass I would.
Oh,
Nine,
that is.
That's it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Right
was.
up north of when you get the queue.
Well, I know my house in Portland is rented and people have contacted me. They want to sell it. I don't know, not ready yet.
I went through our goal.
Yeah, right.
It's good
It's going
investment.
to. It's going to.
It's going to, yeah, but it's good investment.
Put a commercial piece of property up there, if you want. See what happens.
I think one of the things property that's gonna hit
Piece of property.
everyone is if these gas prices stay up.
I'm
All
gonna
the
go
people
higher.
who are buying from, that are in San Antonio and Dallas, and all, they're gonna start selling. That's when it's gonna, when it starts, but, you know, it's, I've been here a little over 20 years, and it's like cycle.
It's like,
You know, yeah. Coconut Ridge, where I lived, was, it would be everybody owned it, probably lived there. And then
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
7 or 8 years later, it would be the opposite. It's all these people coming in from 7 years
When you're-
later,
you're all around,
back,
around.
you know, and it just.
You know?
next door to me, that house across from Jennifer one down.
Mhm.
It's sold. The guy bought it, remodeled it, updated it, which he didn't really need it. And I talked with him this week and they were call
The blue one, they had it up for 525.
75.
No kidding.
Where's that?
On
Bel Air.
Where?
next to me on Bel Air.
Oh.
What is that, about 95 dollar or something?
Yeah, it is.
Something like that, 95, 94, something like that.
90.
Because Michael's got two.
Yeah. But they're from San Antonio, so they're gonna be weekenders.
All these.
And then the lots.
You know, like, well,
Yeah. And the lots on my street are just golly, crazy.
they're building, there's people holding on.
Well, I don't know, maybe they'll build
That one next to you, has there been a sign put up yet?
next to me.
Yes, the one with the boat ramp,
No,
it will be.
well, he can't build on it.
You can't build on it, but they're gonna sell it, They're just like the next one up, they're trying to sell it. Next to Reagan's. and
Why would anybody want it? You can build on it.
They don't know that.
And
It's not
nobody's
advertised.
Well, he knows
They
that.
have, somebody has to own that, that's.
Uh,
You're real estate.
Nothing in there that you have to tell them that.
What's the reason you can't build that stuff?
It's not big enough for a septic system.
Because he built they had a boat, there was
Had a
two
boat lift?
lots,
Boat ramp.
and they had a boat lift.
They just used it.
And they used it for their boat, so they sold it. And then it was a brother and sister. And the brother bought the one that had the boat lift on it because he has a boat. And the sister bought the other, the one closest to me.
Only people it's gonna be valuable to is the neighbor, one of the others.
So what they did is he contacted the builder that I used, Derek Hurst. And, you know, Derek said, there's no room for a septic. Because it juts out, and you have to be so many feet from the water.
Yeah.
So.
So you would think that any buyer would do the research. You know.
It's not told to them.
Shortly after my wife and I got married. We had a little bit of, not much, but we decided we were gonna buy some property. So we were living in north of Boston, Gander, and we went out and got some property in Dripping Springs, or just west of Dripping Springs. And it was a guy, Glenn Copeland was the guy that was developing. And we bought 9 acres. And we got it on contracted deed,
Oh, wow.
and he financed it for 40 years. I mean, we were kids, right? We were kids. So they paid $90 a month.
A lot back then.
Yeah. So anyway, there were deed restrictions. So
What?
deed restrictions,
Oh.
no mobile homes and stuff like that. Well,
Yeah.
because, and we never went out there. So one time we went out there and there were just, you know,
Mhm.
mobile homes and stuff all over. But all the lots were 9 acres plus. So I said, you know, there's just no way we're gonna sell this now because of all of this. Mobile homes. And unfortunately, I don't know if it's still the same, but since it was 9 acres, it's plus 10. that locked out, getting VA loan, because VA on property, on undeveloped properties, 10 acre minimum.
I don't know. I don't think it's been a while.
So just on a lark, I went to one of the neighbors, and asked him if he would be interested in buying it. And yeah, can't afford it, but, so I ended up carrying the note.
I was gonna say, give them the same deal. you-
Right.
I carried the note for 3 years. Not that long. I think I did it for 5 years with maybe it was 4 years with a balloon thing. They were the best people. I mean, they were always on time, and when the balloon came up, they
Yeah,
paid it off and everything, so.
Because usually when you have to own a finance, it's like. credit's
Yeah,
not good.
yeah, right. So it-
You take a chance.
You really are. And contract for deed.
But I figured, worst case with the people that were buying it, I ended up, put the property back or something.
Yeah.
But boy, that really just lucked out.
What do they do with all that property? Horses or something?
I don't know.
They just.
But he
Yeah.
was a neighbor, then he had 18 acres and stuff, so then he could ag exempt it,
Yeah,
Exactly.
12 acres you cut off there.
and I suspect now it's probably all developed because, going
Well,
out.
he had a house or something.
Well, yeah, he had a mobile home.
Mm.
And it was, they were young as well. It was a guy and his wife, and he had a little kid, one little kid, maybe 2.
They should go out there sometime and see what they do with it.
Yeah.
I noticed that in the tax sales, they've got a couple of lots for sale in Holiday Beach, so. And I have a friend who bought 4 or 5 lots and he's made some money on it.
Really?
He turns them, flips them, so,
It happens.
yeah. I wish that the 2 lots next door to us, I wish we had bought those. Tom had talked to our other neighbor Reagan. Because they were asking like 125 for 2 lots, which I thought was a good deal, and we were like, oh, no, and so it sold like in 2 days. So now, well, that's the guy who can't build on it because of the boat lift.
Oh, that's the one with the
That's
boat.
the one, yeah. Only way you can do that is if it fills in the boat lift area.
Can you merge the 2 properties?
Because, well, he could, but one's for his sister and one's for him. You have to have.
Well, both of them, she can't build a house either.
Yeah, she can because it's a solid lot. It's one lot, 50 by 100. And she can build on it. It's got a septic already,
Oh,
but he can't because they're 2 lots. And his lot has the boat lift on it.
but it's the same size as her lot?
But
the
the boat lift takes up,
Cuts in.
cuts into it.
Oh, I see.
It's not on the
Comes in like
sides,
20,
Yeah.
30 feet.
into the property.
I still have, I have a co-op. Well, it was my father-in-law bought it years and years ago. The only reason he bought it was so that he could use boat ramp over in Holiday Beach.
A lot of people do.
A lot of people
Still.
do that.
We still have a lot, and it's still in his name.
Where is it? Aaron, put it on the street.
I do not. I've never been over there. I don't even. Every now and then we'll get a letter from somebody, I suspect it's from the neighbors. I did, but I was gonna wait.
What are you gonna wait for?
Wait for the temperature to, I didn't sign it.
Have we heard from the 10 o'clock person?
Oh, then we've got 10:15.
Yeah. Almost 10.
Do you know why they do this? They, nobody knows, they just don't show their ad.
What's our percentage of no shows so far?
A lot on my day.
Yes.
Exactly.
So if we need to do everything. Yeah,
And I know that one guy, the third year, has spoken to, I'm afraid I had
Okay.
it formal, so maybe he kind of realized something
Have
Yeah.
yourself-
because I mean,
have yourself.
like that.
They should let you know. So they don't log up the schedule.
I mean, I could put other people on.
Yeah. We could done it.
I didn't know you wanted daughter, so.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Yes.
Okay,
Charge you $25.
like I said, I think they probably, like she's gonna get angry. And then they protest, or they send in their phones and then they do a research and go.
Or sometimes, like she said, they'll call and call.
Yeah.
Maybe they should be on that, whether it's on the schedule or not. Again,
Yeah.
needed off of it.
You know, and I think also sometimes they talk to their neighbors.
Oh, yeah.
Well, so and so overall.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So-and-so protested, they didn't get nothing.
Yeah.
my daughter owns a lot in Starfish in Holiday Beach, and she's been contacted several times to sell. And she says, well, they're asking, they want to buy, what's going on with it? They have a lot and a half, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I said, hold on to that lot, not sell it, because, they don't need to. I don't know if they'll do it eventually, but said you're gonna get double what you paid for that, if not more.
Probably.
So, if they don't, if the market does all of a sudden decide to burst and crash.
I know, like you said, a lot of people at Holiday Beach, I don't know if this is still true or not, could when the lots were fairly cheap out there.
Yeah.
They just bought it again, so they can either keep the boat on it or use the ramp.
Yeah, I know people who've done that too.
Oh, yeah, a lot of people did that. There's not that many public ramps.
That's an up and coming area. Cheapest on the coast.
They were sort of building some,
They have some
HEB
really-
or somebody else up there. Windfall.
Wow.
How many of the bungalows do they have at the?
11, and 2 of them are handicap accessible. You can drive to those 2. Also, Fulton Beach Road through that gate, you can drive to those 2 because of the handicap wheelchair ramps.
Okay.
So do they have a card or a key to get in
How did they do
from Fulton Beach Road?
It is open the gate for men.
Okay, looking up.
Oh, that's not locked.
Most of the time, no, it's not, because there's on-site management all the time.
Oh, there is?
There's a lady that runs the office, and then her husband is the property manager.
Oh.
He's on site mowing or doing something,
Yeah, 'cause
Now that they've remodeled them all, he has nothing to do and, clean them up a little bit, and bring the next ones in. He used to have to work on them in between, but they're all brand new now, so
it's in Spartan.
he's got it made now.
That's good. I've always noticed the gates open and I've been tempted to drive in there, but I'm sure that. they're
The
gonna
only
stop
time
me.
that entrance gate would be closed if there's no one there, no one scheduled, they'll lock it. If they're on vacation or some reason it's closed, it would be locked, but it's open all the time. And now with the Kerrville location closed due to construction for 2 years.
That
this
was
makes
it.
it all-
Yeah. They sure have a nice pier.
Yeah, it's grand.
I haven't seen
Thanks to that party.
piers in it. Yeah. Of course, I don't always go by every day.
That was my last project over there.
Or doing the remodel.
Oh, here it is.
Up here. So I had worked
That's a
with
big
it.
long pier, isn't it?
It's over 600 feet.
Yeah, it is.
I had to work with the insurance company on all that for RV.
Destroyed in Harvey.
And I
Yeah.
mean, they were great to work with, but they should be. I'm sure they were paid a bundle for insurance coverage for all the stores. But they said if it needs, replace it. Don't repair it, replace it. That's what they told us the first meeting we had.
Well, I can see
left it
why.
over.
I thought a lot of those, Aryan rights or something like that. For people who have peers like big non-Fulton Beach Road that go away, some of those people didn't get insurance.
Well, you have to, you're charged to the GLO.
That's.
And you pay rent for that property. And they dictate, you pay a fee to use that property because you're on the state property.
That's what, I think it's voluntary lines you have to be able to hear.
Right.
All goes to the GLO, general land office. Just like my daughter's house, you have to go apply for a permit for the footage and everything else. Because they have to determine if it's grass and what you can build, how far your board is laid. But there's a process.
And I'm sure it's a horror. Especially since Stormy.
Is everybody in holiday beach if that's something? Well, you are.
Yes.
We've
Please
all
anymore.
that. That's not everyone in
Yeah. it's,
Holly Beach, that's either an aerobic or a mountain.
We were fortunate, ours was not damaged in Oregon, and so we were able to use, we got the family course to come and check in. We knew really watched it closely, so we didn't get damaged, because a lot of times people went over everything.
It's all over but the crime. Okay.
That's it.
Yep. Yeah, that's.
See you at 1:30.
God. This really